For those watching tonight's meeting virtually, the meeting is available to live stream via the Park District website. All information about Park District meetings can be found at winpark.org under the Park District Info tab by selecting Board Meetings plus Videos. Public comment is accepted in person. A link to the video and audio will be posted immediately following this evening's meeting. To improve the sound while listening to the meeting, please turn the volume on your computer and turn up the volume on the website. The meeting packet for tonight's meeting is located on the website. For those attending tonight's meeting, the emergency exits from the room are the door behind you or through the foyer. To improve the quality of sound, there is a boom microphone directed towards the commissioners. The microphone will pick up additional audience noise and sidebar conversations. If it's difficult to hear, please feel free to move to the front row. This is a business meeting, not a sporting event. The board asks for your cooperation to maintain decorum. Please be considerate. Refrain from interrupting board members and other speakers. We're a community coming together to discuss difficult issues in a civil and respectful fashion. We have the opening roll call of the August 22nd, 2024 committee and regular board meeting.
Commissioner James is absent. Commissioner Lesson?
Here.
Commissioner Rapp? Here. Commissioner Root is absent. Commissioner Tyson?
Here.
Commissioner Hemmings?
Present.
Commissioner Cotto?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Excellent. Pledge of allegiance. Cynthia, you're closest to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public announcements. Don't forget the Winnetka Parks Foundation is having a golf tournament on Friday, September 13th at the Winnetka Golf Club, and hope you'll join us. Information can be found on our social media platforms and our website. All registrations are open, so make sure you are signed up for your favorite programs and activities. Approval of tonight's agenda. There has been a request to remove financials from the consent agenda. Are there any other changes requested? Okay. May I have a motion to approve the August 22nd agenda as amended?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment. This is your opportunity to address the board on any issue. When called upon, please come to the center position, the podium, in front of the commissioners. Speak loudly into the microphone, state your name for the record, and speak directly to the board. Based on the public comment policy described in the board policy manual and referenced in Public Access Counselor Opinion 2024 PAC 81900, guests may present public comment for no longer than 3 minutes after being recognized. If you prefer to share your comments in writing this evening, you may do so by leaving a member of the Park District staff. Do we have any members of the public who would like to speak? Seeing no hands raised, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Without objection or request of any other specific item for the consent agenda for individual consideration beyond financials, we will act on the following items with a single vote. 3.1 committee and regular meeting minutes July 18th, 2024, closed session minutes July 18th, 2024, vouchers in the amount of $760,664.40. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Lesson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rapp? Yes. Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hemmings?
Yes.
Commissioner Cotto?
Yes.
That motion passes.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the July financials?
So moved. Second.
Okay. And then I think we take discussion, correct? Jim?
Thank you, Commissioner Cotto.
Thank you, Commissioner Cotto. Due to the unique reporting structure of the Golf Fund, some accrued expenses had yet to post to our accounting software, and some revenues needed to be deferred to future months. We worked with Kemper Sports, Andy Tretton, our staff accountant, and I spoke to Miles over at Golf to identify the nature of discrepancies, and we performed the necessary journal entries to correct the discrepancies. We will work with Kemper going forward to ensure that we get the financials reconciled in a more timely manner to avoid this sort of discrepancy in the future.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hemming?
Yes.
Commissioner Westman?
Yes.
Commissioner Coto?
Yes.
That motion passes.
Item number 4, Kemper Sports update. I'm not used to presenting this early.
Good evening. So we have an open golf course now. Thank you to everybody for coming to the opening event. It's been a really busy week. The last 7 days we hosted over 1,400 rounds, so averaging over 200 a day every single day. Did over 205 today. High schools are out practicing. They had their trials with us last week and continue to practice every day. So they're really enjoying the new practice facility we have on site as well. So out on the golf course, a lot happened since our last meeting in preparation for reopening. The stair coverings were installed. We received the T signs from both golf courses. The new scorecard boxes were installed. Golf cart GPS setup was complete. So that happened a couple weeks ago. Bridge repairs were completed on hole 2. The existing asphalt car paths, the ones that weren't replaced, were all resealed. The fences came down on August 1st, and then final preparations and agronomic work completed.
So all the items that you just saw leading up, those were about 3 weeks leading up to prior to opening. We were kind of running around buttoning up all those last minute items, getting things squared away. The boxes kept getting checked, as I was kind of talking about last month. So everything kind of finally came full circle. Like Miles said, open golf course. So great. Hope you guys enjoyed it. The golf course is doing well after as many rounds as we're putting in it. We're putting 200 rounds in a brand new golf course, and it's performing well. And finally, Mother Nature kind of cooperated over the last 14 days, and it's drier out there. So interesting change the wet pattern that we've been in. Like I said, golf course is doing great. Everything we're doing on a daily basis is basically as needed. We're mowing greens and rolling greens every day, but like fairways with the hard traffic and everything don't need to be mowed 3 times a week, or as needed, as I speak of. So we don't kind of stress out the grass more than necessary, because it looks good. We just keep the divots blown and kind of the debris kind of cleaned up on a daily basis, and kind of keep them clean and moving forward. Look good every day. So greens have been responding well. Drier. I think they're really liking the drier weather right now. Tees are seeing better days. So look for them to rebound pretty soon. But with all the golf here right out of the gate, they're taking a beating right now. But no problem in the future. Par 3 golf course will be opening soon. It's right on pace with the 18-hole course, kind of making strides every day. So real soon we're talking about opening that. So the details coming. Really, is there any questions or anything? I'm in transition of getting the crew kind of trained in a formal now golf setting. before it's kind of we're just out, nobody really around us. We can kind of operate, do our own thing, but now we're being courteous to others.
Andrew, maybe Miles, 200 rounds a day is a lot, my opinion. What would be a target annual round for this course?
I think we come in probably just over 30.
30,000.
See us doing that in the future.
It's awesome.
So we have capacity to hold more. We don't start tea times right now until 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Just to give his crew a little bit more time to prep in the mornings, to keep the conditioning the same, but then that also saves us a little bit of wear and tear there in the mornings. So that early hour and a half in the mornings helps a lot, and then we haven't had a whole lot of play in the last hour. So just trying to limit as much traffic, and then our tea time splits also accommodate that as well. Doing 10 minutes instead of anything shorter helps not only pace of play, but also helps limit the amount of traffic we have. So
Any anecdotal feedback from either general players or coaches and high school teams? Or?
yeah, it's overwhelmingly positive. I haven't heard any negative feedback about the golf course. Everybody's just in awe of the conditioning and all the work that was done. So it's overwhelmingly positive.
Some low rounds so far.
69, two, both shared high school. So not never keep track.
I'm going to give you a chance to do a little bit of a brag, because I think you had a couple great days. So you want to tell the board what your all-time high revenue day was.
I think we did 22 a couple times. Yeah.
Good.
So I
Nice.
might have beat that the other day.
Good.
Yeah, it's been really positive, strong in all fronts. Car revenue obviously is good. Food beverage revenue is very strong as well. So
And I would say too that just a big thank you to Kemper Sports and some of the volunteers that have gone out there to help out as well. Like the men's club has been a huge help, going out with the sand to fill in, and that's greatly appreciated. And just the overall support of the community in making sure that this golf course looks great, continues to look great, and is a real asset for the community is amazing. It's really great. And I think for the par 3, we have decided on a time frame yet to open up next Friday for the par 3. Great.
The left of the fairway and out of bounds on the right. A new greenside bunker awaits, except any approach shots missed to the right. Good luck.
that was the last of our drone videos, so we counted down. That was actually the first one we showed, so if you weren't blinking at
The
social
finishing
media,
hole.
we did.
That connected.
Holes 18 through 1 as we counted down the last 18 days before we reopened the golf course. So, really cool, just getting the aerial views of all of it. I know some of our high school kids are using that as to scout the golf course before the tryouts as well. So,
Smart.
yeah. So marketing update, the reopening has been, we've had a lot more traction. Website, we saw a 91% increase over the prior year. Engagement time was 47% increase. Again, all the flyovers were posted. The renovation page has been updated with all of the pertinent information. And then Discover Golf has been really big on our website. So we started sign-ups through our website for Discover Golf. We had 37 signed up so far for the fall semester. Looking at greatly increasing that as we approach such 2 weeks. And then social media, our engagement and impressions has risen with all the reopening posts over the last few weeks. And then we had a lot of media that was here for the opening day, and a lot of articles that were written. The Tribune, the Record, Culver Resort Business, and the Golf Course Industry Magazine. We also have a pending placement in the Chicago Golf Magazine and Midwest Golfing Magazines that should come out later, I think next week. We did start our advertising, so we have a full-page ad in the Chicago District Golfer magazine, and our pay-per-click campaign targeting the Winnetka and surrounding zip code. Just letting people know that we're open, that we're available, letting people know what their tee-time booking range is. So, and then we have our True Review surveys. Those started actually today, going out to all the golfers. We have a golfer satisfaction survey that went out yesterday. Then we are promoting our hole-in-one program. Then we have a swag golf partnership with some of the other Kemper sports courses to get a limited merchandise run that we have in our golf shop that we sold a few of. And then we have some more drone work that's going to be coming up to do a full 18-hole overview, and then the 9-hole flyovers as we So the ad on the left, so that's what's going to be featured in the Chicago District magazine, with our QR code leading to the website, and then just some snippets from some of the media covers that we have. So we had 105 players in our grand reopening event. We had 468 rounds the first 2 days. Like I said, we had over 1,400 in the last 7 days since. We started getting our new merchandise. Unfortunately, some of that was delayed by the vendors, so we got actually a lot of it today. And then our frequent fairway program, we saw 27 stamps through the 12th. We probably had at least double that in the last week because a lot of people were just waiting until we reopened to come in and redeem them. So that's been a really successful program for us, driving some participation from other golf courses. And then financial update. So, year to date, start the NOI commission changes here. We are still just over $400,000 ahead. Year to date NOI, we are at $591 on a budget of $1 million, just over $1 million. So revenues were down a little bit in the month. A lot of that is coming from, we had a little bit less in crew construction from Discover Golf, and then merchandise sales to budget. Actuals for the year are still about $6,000 ahead of budget. Cost of sales were lower due to the lower merchandise sales. Payroll expenses, we still came in under budget last month, even as we were ramping up in preparation for the reopening. Operating expenses were slightly higher. A lot of that was deferred from previous months where we had those savings. But year to date, we are still about $150,000 ahead. And we did save, again, $11,000 of water last month. Still haven't used any potable water out on the golf course. So even the last month was a little bit behind, about $15,000 behind budget. But for the year, we were still considerably up. Then we had a lot more of our capital spend that hit last month. We still have some. Any questions?
Exciting.
Yes.
Just had a couple of financial questions.
Yes.
So I saw in vouchers that there were the large capital expenses for the bridge and then some of the other major work that we did. Are those the final invoices for that work, or are we still expecting more to roll in?
So the bridge has a retention still left to be paid on that. I think it's about 12,000 outstanding. And the closeout for the cart barn, closeout for the electric, I think there's like 6,700 outstanding. And the last time that we're still working through is the fire suppression. That has not been paid out to date as of yet. So we are working through that. The plumbing upgrades have been done to the facility, but the fire suppression, we're going through the final round, so that's still an outstanding capital expense that will still be expensed through this year.
And then just so I'm clear, so next month in the financials, when large expenses come through, will they appear in the capital expenses somewhere? Will they appear in the Kemper financials? Will they appear somewhere else that we don't see? Like,
Could you clarify the question, but I'm a little unclear on what you're asking.
so there were the vouchers that came through for, I think it was like 115 for one of them for the bridge work.
Here.
So when we look at like these financials are through July. When we look at our financials for next month, where should we see that expenditure?
Those should be capital expenditures. The bridge work should be capital.
Okay. And will there be any additional expenditures from that kind of work that will appear in Kemper, the Kemper financials, or if it's in the vouchers, it only appears in our,
It should appear in both.
okay.
So I process the bills through that because I manage those projects. So those are paid directly from the park district to third party. They don't necessarily typically go through the traditional vouchers through Kemper. So I would probably suggest that they would be seen at the park district end and then mirrored in the Kemper end, following.
That's correct. Thank you for clarifying. Right. When we reconcile, they will show in both, but it will come through us. We will pay it directly.
Okay. Okay, and we'll look further ahead next time, so, okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Miles? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
It's very exciting to have this course open. Very exciting to have a profitable enterprise. Thank you. 4.2, alternative revenue bond rate restriction update. Jim.
Thank you, Commissioner Cotto. This is the annual sort of status report. July 28th, 2024 was the 4-year anniversary of the issuance of the bonds. July 28th, 2025 will be the 5-year anniversary, which is a significant date. According to the contract, the park district was supposed to spend 85% of the proceeds by that point in time. It doesn't look like we're going to do that. So, and as you may be aware, the interest rates have been significantly higher over the last 12 to 18 months than they were when bonds were issued. So we went from a negative arbitrage position to a positive arbitrage position in the space of 12 months. Point being that when we get to July 28th of 2025, we will probably have a yield restriction payment to make to the IRS. And the point of this memo is just to alert the board to that fact, and that we will hold some of the bond money in reserve for that payment next year. And you will see that in the 2025 budget as well, but I didn't want that to be a surprise to the board, so I wanted to provide this status report for you.
Thank you. Any questions for Jim? 4.3, Centennial Park Project Plan Update Process.
Christina, thank you. I'm just going to talk loud just because of the mic interference sometimes. So as presented previously and discussed over time from October 19, 2023, then again in March 21st, 2024, we've been advancing our plan through the project. Tonight we're going to be specifically talking about Centennial because we were given by the Park Board direction to separate the two projects and no longer consider them as a sole project due to the property exchange agreement and move forward with our property. So with that being said, want to call out a couple key points through this, and it's shown here overlaid on the original schematic design as it was approved from the October 19th meeting. The areas that are been bubbled out in red, if you will, the north side here, there's a small section of the seawall that is we're looking to replace, and a section here in the center of the boardwalk area that is being widened, part of our plan design through comments and review from the original plan as it was presented in the schematic fashion. In addition to that, as presented and approved by the Park Board, we did make the adjustment from the original design back in October to the March 21st design approved ADA walkway and the slope transition as well as the retaining walls, curvatures, and the flow of that sidewalk or walkway as needed to be addressed. So I wanted to take an opportunity to further that discussion and kind of bring the board up to speed on progress of the Centennial plans from where it was originally to where we're at today. Here's just a zoom in enlarged graphic of the Centennial site, once again calling out the two areas with the most change. Here is a snippet from the board packet on the 21st, once again calling out the design change as it was accepted and approved. This in turn, we reduced the slopes to less than 8%. We also took a look at the mid-bluff area here and reconfigured that with the outcropping stone walkway, and also we put back in the seating node in the upper parkland as well. So those are all elements that were discussed before and approved. You'll notice in here, this area here, once again, was the area that we increased in width to adapt a location for our beach attendants for future operations. So here are some snippets from the actual construction documents calling out those different elements. Once again, the locations as it relates to the project design, the north seawall, which would be the permanent shore protection that's being replaced, if you will, here, as well as the increase in the boardwalk. Here it is, once again, shown in greater detail. Along with the increase at the time of the presentation back in October, we did not anticipate relocating the dog shower, and we did not anticipate installing a foot wash station as a beach amenity. Those are things that came through the discussion in the advanced plan, so I wanted to call those elements out as well. As we take a look, take a look here. This illustration is to further help with the understanding of the existing seawall that is in dire needs, if you will. There is a short section of steel and timber seawall that is against the northern property line. The northern property line that separates the 261 Sheridan Road site from the Centennial site is shown here with this dotted line across. As you can see, the red line here that's representing the existing wall does propose past and connects to the seawall at the 261 residence as well. The PZ18 sheeting that's being proposed to be installed here is shown in the graphic here in front of the retaining wall in this location. The reason that is being done is to sustain the proper slope behind the retaining wall, so we can put it back as a 2-to-1 slope, something that's more sustainable and we can definitely manage versus what was there previous, as shown here in the illustration. You can see that there were a couple timber switchbacks that were planted or installed upstream of that to help hold the earth back because it was installed at such an aggressive grade. So I just want to call that out as one of the larger changes from the initial work as it was discussed and presented to the final design plans as we have them here. The second element I wanted to call out in greater detail is the boardwalk area and the increased width here of 6 feet as shown in the box with the arrow and what we chose to do to address that. The access and flow for a beachgoer, either coming down the staircase through here or coming down the 88 path and proceeding north on the boardwalk to this location, to be able to put a beach attendant in there as we had it programmed, made that space too congested. It was too closely confined where it would impede on the access flow for both the ramp and the staircase. The best option to do that, we look at bumping an area out in front of that. We looked at some other things based on the consultant's review and our staff's expertise on the operations. Ultimately, we came up with a solution of widening this single area here by 6 feet, pushing it to the north, pushing both the staircase and the ADA walkway or the ADA ramp down to the beach 6 feet to the north. The overall length of the boardwalk where it ended previously on the north side did not increase. There wasn't a need to increase that length. We just offset the stair and the ADA ramp component to be able to expand this area by 6 feet to accommodate that need. So those are kind of the two bigger changes there. Forget if I did, I guess I didn't. To point out the location of the dog eat entry, right here, approximately where the square is, about 10 feet wide by about 15 feet depth, is the double gate location. We have solidified this location here for the dog shower, so this way it will be down on site, adjacent to the beach. So when a community member with their dog are all down at the beach, they can wash, rinse off right here, and then proceed up the ramp, not having that runoff from the dog shower and so forth, traced down the bluff or down the ramp as we've seen it today. Anybody who's been to the Centennial Dog Beach today, that area directly in front of the gate because the dog shower location can get a little mucky and it's always kind of wet. So this was the place that we located that amenity. And then we also included a foot shower for those coming off the beach who might want to rinse off their feet as they proceed up out of the park side. So those were the major changes that we've kind of went through. Otherwise, by the design components of what was originally projected in the plans through here, everything else stayed within the confines of what we had projected and the elevations and heights that we had projected. The team did a nice job following suit for what was designed originally and trying to keep that as tight to those standards as possible. I will note that initially we had talked about some kind of design component at the end of the pier structure. What we had chose to do was to include what's kind of shown here is a embossed compass rose to give it a little bit of a design element and a little bit of more interest to that. That's something that was included in the final design, along with some granite inlays of pavers set in there to once again emphasize that design quality of what that is. So it's just not very or plain concrete. It would be a little bit more architectural design and a little bit more interest for the site itself. The other big change that I'd like to note was the choice of materials. We had talked about using Epane lumber for our boardwalk element. Due to the cost and the design issues that we ran through as far as adhering that to the decking and the capacity and the longevity of that, we decided to go with a stamp color through concrete instead. Staff and consultants were able to take a look at a couple different project sites and felt comfortable with what we saw in the field and what they had completed and the longevity of what we were seeing. Right now, we know there will be a maintenance element to it where we would have to restain the concrete every 3 to 5 years, but that would be at a low cost and a better upfront cost of the overall project and have the longevity not only for the project, but also for the use of our equipment and what we need to get down on the site, as the ADA walkway serves as twofold, a maintenance access road for our equipment to get down to both beach sites. So we were taking that into consideration with some of our material selection. It's a cover in regards to the design changes from the original plan. I'd love to field any questions that the board might have at this time in regards to any design changes.
Do you have any questions for Costa? Cynthia?
Just double checking that because they can't see from the diagram, the foot wash is outside the dog beach
Correct.
gate.
Yeah. Those two are separated elements, so there's no interference between. Correct.
And then with the change in location of the seawall, how much square footage of the beach are we losing?
I would say that we're losing 6 feet by 15, so doing some quick math, what's that, 90 square feet, roughly.
Where was the dog shower located previously? I thought it was almost like a wall. Was it down the beach level previously?
We had proposed to leave it where it was existing, which is kind of in this element right here, right at the interchange from where the original walkway went down, and then it kind of separated out to the upper bluff area. So we decided, once again, based on the runoff, where you're at the location, especially with the pitch and slope, it was better suited to put it down at the actual gate or within the gated dog gate area versus having it on the floor.
Thank you.
Any other, yes?
Just, is there a plan anywhere to have restrooms during the season at the beach?
So currently, we do not have restroom facilities integrated as part of the overall design. The cost to do so and the location, that was something that we were looking at part of our longer phase with the interconnection between the two sites. Right now, we would propose that people would walk through the natural contour of the beach and walk across the property and then access Elder to utilize the washrooms there. Right now, those are not included.
So there isn't a plan like in Wombat at like Langdon to have porta potties or any
At this point in time, we've discussed that, but we haven't finalized any of that. I think we'll look at the demand and what that looks like, and if we have to supplement, we can look at those options. But right now, we would suggest for people to use the bathrooms that are the brick and mortar, if you will.
Any other questions for Costa? Thanks, Costa.
President Cohen, before we go to the next item on the agenda, I wonder if it's appropriate to make a motion to reopen public comment to give our erstwhile attendee, Susie Schreiber, an opportunity.
She's waving us
She
off.
is not interested.
Okay,
I will
we
take
saw
a
you
motion.
arrive. We moved really quickly. Perfect.
Very good.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Now, item number 5, unfinished business, Elder and Centennial Park and Beach projects update. Costa.
Thank you. So there's a few things listed in the packet here. We'll run through those items. First, of course, is the memorandum that's included in your packet. Today, staff has been working diligently with our consultants, back and forth with the Village of Gwinnett in regards to review comments for Centennial Park. We did earlier this week receive our final third-round comments, which were great. It was just the final last couple pieces that we needed to complete our application. So staff is finishing those comments up. We're going to be submitting those back to them by the end of the week here. So we'll have that closed out. And then as it relates to Elder Lane, staff has received the 100% drawings from the consultants as it relates to the project design for construction documents, and we are reviewing those currently. Staff will send their review comments back to the consultants, and then we are due to receive the final drawings from the consultants at the end of next week. I believe that will be August 30th. Those are due back to the Park District. At that point in time, we'll finalize our submission for the special use permit for Centennial. Probably about a week and a half, 2 weeks to get that finalized based on the drawings, get that submitted into the village for review. The one thing that I will say is what we've learned through the Centennial application process, we should be able to streamline, in theory, knock on wood, of course, the process for an elder based on what we've learned. What we would expect to hear from the consultants and the village staff, as well as cross sections that are required for plan sets and different other items for that. So that should help streamline that process, and then we'll be able to move forward. Staff has had discussions with Community Development Department Director David Schoen as it relates to the sequencing of those meetings. Right now, tentatively, and I will say tentatively, we are looking for a September 24th meeting date for zoning. That is going to be a special zoning meeting that they're going to host for us. So the zoning meeting will be solely the Centennial project site. And then from there, once we complete and close out that meeting, and I say close out completely, and we get a recommendation from that board to move forward with the plan or whatever is determined, then once that's closed out, we can get on the docket for the following meeting. That was something that you'll notice in the Gantt charts. They were a little bit more consecutive, planning where we can run multiple meetings without having to have separate or individual closeouts of meetings prior to starting the next. That was just a misinterpretation from what staff had talked about, but unfortunately that was something that was clarified to us, and that's what we redirected in regards to our schedule moving forward. So we have tentative dates for zoning, plan, and design review, and we'll be looking to get those meeting dates out to the board and to the public once they're finalized. So we'll wait for submission and those dates to be published by the village to make sure we're not stepping ahead of the game here from this view.
And then just to clarify, one quick question. For Elder, 1 to 2 weeks after the August 30th, so perhaps a September 15th submission of permits?
Right, that's what we're anticipating. Yes,
Okay.
Approximately 2 weeks. Yeah, I think I put it early September in the memorandum that was in the package, but yes, roughly early to mid September is what we're hoping for. We should be able to do that.
Okay, great.
Costa, which board is first on September 24th?
The zoning board.
ZBA?
Yep. Zoning board of appeals, correct.
Any questions for Costa? Cynthia?
This might be more for Shannon or for Costa, I'm not sure, but for, just in terms of the public communication for the September 24th ZBA, what is the date that the public notice will go out for that? When will the signage go up at the park? I think it's really important that it's, you know, clearly communicated to the public so that, you know, it's not a surprise and people don't, you know, like, it's clear.
So that's something that the village will do. They're the ones that get it advertised in the paper, and they provide us that documentation, which is 2-3 weeks out from the meeting date.
Basically, yes. If memory serves, that correspondence should go out 2 weeks prior from the meeting date, so that should be advertised on September 10th, and I believe it will be in the paper on September 5th, if memory serves. I apologize if that's incorrect. I'm going off memory based on a lot of conversations around dates and time. So,
But that's 100% the village.
Nothing that we post, nothing that we formally send out will be advertised, of course, but it's up to them to do the original posting as Shannon.
It would be really nice for us as a board to know when the date is that we should be expecting to see the public notice. Like, is it 2 weeks? Is it 3 weeks?
Once we know that, because we're still tentative at this point.
Okay.
So we've been given we've been given a couple options, and then they were working with their boards to see how many people would be able to attend a special meeting, and then those couple of options went down to one option. And so we're still trying to work that out with the village as far as what that date would look like. And once we know for sure, because as Costa mentioned, that we have to submit another round of a couple comments back to the village that we plan on doing by the end of this week to hopefully finish that part out. And then we should get response back at that point on, okay, this date is confirmed. And then from there, and we can go back, by tomorrow and look at what the requirements are with the village for posting. And we can do our own outreach once we know that information is available and we know that it's finalized. But the official stuff would come from the village as far as their legal requirements for posting.
Okay, no, that's good. I just, people ask questions as we're walking around the community.
Of course, yeah.
It's good to be able to say, okay,
I would love
the
to give
meeting
you
is
official
at this
dates.
date.
And Adam had a comment also.
So whenever the date is set, the ordinance requires at least 15 days notice for newspaper notice, website notice, the mailed notice that goes to the neighbors has to be sent at least 10 days in advance. So it all sort of reflects when the actual date of the hearing is.
Thank you. Any other questions? Jack?
So if I understand correctly, the earliest zoning meetings will happen at this point, tentatively September 24th.
Correct.
And originally we had an assumption in our plan that the other meetings could potentially happen in parallel, but now there's a dependency between them and they will have to happen sequentially.
Correct.
So I know I can look and find the answer myself from what you provided, but what is the overall impact to our start of construction date based on those changed assumptions?
Sure. So that's something that is a variable right now, because if we can get through each one of the meetings with a single meeting, then in theory we should be able to get in front of council either in December or January, once again depending on when the schedule is set for the meeting and what's on the agenda. Well, that's something once again the village sets. From there, once completed, and if we can go through a single meeting at council, then we can move forward into what is the lakefront construction permit. At that point, we would submit our permit application for our project, which would be basically our IDNR and Army Corps permit, not only to the village, but also to those two agencies, the Corps and the IDNR, and then that process will begin. So that they'll accept our permit, they'll review for typically 30 to 45 days. From there, barring any questions or concerns they have before they go to public notice, if they have anything, we would go back and forth. From that point, it would go to public notice, and then that would go for typically 30 days out on the, out to the public. They would close public notice session. They would review any comments or questions that have bearing or are pertinent to the project that need to be addressed by the Park District. At that point in time, if there are none, once again, this is all best case scenario, they would then go back and re-review and then go through their process. At some point, 30, 60 days after that close of public notice, they would then move forward to a 401 water quality permit, which is an internal document amongst them. And then once we know that has been set, that's a good indicator that we're going to be moving forward and get approval on the project. And that's where we would start ramping up, our operation to start finalizing construction. But between now and then, we would also run a parallel path for our bidding work, because we need to bid this project formally, or any changes that might come out of the village review meetings. So there's a lot of components and a lot of meetings that overlay, but tentatively, if that process goes quickly, more or less, we might be looking at late spring, early summer, or midsummer start. Once again, that's variable. We could always do work upland and what have you if we get permission to do so we're not wasting the construction season. But it would all be predicated on when we receive a formal permit from those two agencies. Once received, then we can move, and we're anticipating about a year timeline. So if we get it in summer of 25, then it would be summer of 26. In theory, then we would reopen. So that's kind of the tentative schedule.
I guess what I was trying to get at in my question is, I'm assuming when we look at this project schedule that these meetings, whether they're with the village or the IDNR or the Army Corps of Engineers, they're all critical path. And each one of those dates we have a dependency on, and when those dates change, it drives our schedule and therefore drives the end date of our schedule.
Correct.
So hypothetically, if this meeting does not happen in September for zoning, I'm trying to get an understanding if it's pushed another 2 weeks. If we assume all the assumptions still hold true for the remainder of the schedule, and I realize there are assumptions, things can flex, that'll flow. What does that do to our end date?
I would say it just pushes it by essentially 2 weeks or greater, once again, depending on the meeting schedule and how fast we can get through the meetings. The fallback date, if the meeting on the 24th is not able to get a quorum or we're not able to move forward, would be October 14th would be the next meeting date. And then pursuant to that, planning would be November 20th, and then after that, we can get through design review would be December 19th. So those are the secondary dates that would push us into council after the first year. So that's once again, we're predicating that on one meeting for each one of the lines. This potential is of 2 or more.
Thank you.
Any other comments for Costa? Questions for Costa? Okay. Thank you.
Did want to just touch on the cost estimates as well. I just wanted to get through the permitting piece because it seemed like there's going to be questions on that. The cost estimate for Centennial has not changed, but the cost estimate for Elder, now that we have received the 100% plans, did change ever so slightly. It did increase by $2,145, but just a reference on that. So that has been updated per that. And currently to date, the project is running for 2024 $404,940.74 as it relates to specific soft costs for construction, administration, construction documents, and programming. Soft costs for the construction documents and the meeting schedules. And we've incurred about $5,816 for FOIA litigation as it relates to lakefront projects. So I just want to make sure that the board had an update that was a request previously.
Yeah.
That's all that I have.
That's all?
That's all.
Okay. Thanks, Costa.
Thank you.
Thanks, Costa. New business? Don't have anything. Yeah. Okay. Moving on, Executive Director's Report number 7.
As always, weekly status reports are attached as well as legal expenses, and I'll answer any questions you may have.
Excellent. Any questions for Shandy? Okay. Moving on to commissioner comments. Eric?
That's it.
Okay. Cynthia? Jeff?
None at this time?
Excellent. James?
Yes, I do. One item that's not on the agenda tonight is the Crow Island Park restoration. The public should appreciate that this is very much at the forefront of our concern and efforts. The issue here is that the village, in conducting its work in connection with the stormwater project, laid down a bunch of dirt and restoring the site that contained various forms of waste, including broken glass. And I think others on the Park District are not terribly interested in leaving this contaminated dirt in place and creating a hazard for patrons of the park. On August 12th, we met with the village to try to form a suitable resolution that ensures the health and safety of our community. At the meeting, the village committed to getting us a proposal, and we agreed that we would consider it. Unfortunately, it took the village 10 days to get us that proposal. We received it yesterday, too late to put it on the agenda for tonight. I've reviewed the proposal, and we can talk about it more at the next open session when we can have a full opportunity to discuss it when it is on the agenda. From what I've seen, which the village characterized as, quote, the agreed to restoration improvements, that plan, A, doesn't reflect what the Park District staff and leadership discussed when they met with the village on August 12th, and B, may not solve the problem. It seems to me that what's needed here is clean fill, which the village doesn't appear interested in providing. I'm certainly interested in cooperating with the village and have very little appetite for a prolonged dispute with them. Winnetka deserves closure on this issue and deserves the village's attention to forming a solution to the problem that ensures the health and safety of our citizens and park goers.
Thank you, James. I have no comments tonight. At this point, I would like to ask for a motion to go into closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/section 2C5 for the purchase or lease of property, and 5 ILCS 120/2C6 for the setting of a price for sale or lease of property, and 5 ILCS 120/2C11 for litigation. When an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent.
So moved. Second.
It's a roll call.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hemmings?
Yes.
Commissioner Wesson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Koto?
Yes.
That motion passes.